I probably should never have commented on trans men and their experience because I don't know that experience.
I'm Oliver, I'm a trans man. I've been transitioning for a little over 5 years now. And you're definitely not wrong that the vast majority of the rhetoric around anti-trans legislation and propaganda is targeted at trans women and villainizing and demonizing trans women in an effort to protect women and women's spaces. It's mostly because we're still seen as women. We live in a very sexist society. Women are just kind of shoved over here. And since we're seen as women, we're seen as weaker and not a threat. Additionally, all of this legislation, even if it is targeted at trans women, still affects trans men in the same way. For example, legislation with access to healthcare for us affects trans men the exact same way it affects trans women. When Florida, where I live, put in legislation a few years back to eliminate access to gender affirming care, it didn't just affect trans women, I also wasn't able to access my medication. Trans men also have a really hard time accessing just regular health care that we need, like gynecological care. Doctors will literally just refuse to see us because we're transgender. Unfortunately, just kind of ignored in the conversation entirely, which in some ways has its privileges because the rhetoric is not targeted at us. On the other hand, our pain and struggles are just not seen at all. And while all those things are true, it's also true that because trans women are the target of all of this rhetoric, they experience a lot of violence because of it. But at the end of the day, these people that are anti-trans, these politicians that are anti-trans, they don't just want trans women to not exist and be able to live their life fully. They also don't want trans men to exist and live their life fully either. They don't want trans people to exist and live their lives fully.